Winter is almost here, and winter looks to have a stacked lineup of game releases, and in this video we take a look at the top 10 upcoming PC games that are scheduled to be released in winter of 2016. Number 10 is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, being developed by Capcom. Dragon's Dogma is a game that was originally released back in 2012 on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Around the time when Dragon's Dogma was releasing, PC gamers were clamoring for a release of the game on PC, but we never heard anything about it, and as the years went on, PC gamers gave up hope and thought Dragon's Dogma was going to be a console exclusive forever. And out of nowhere, here comes Capcom announcing that Dragon's Dogma will be arriving to PC on January in 2016. Dragon's Dogma was one of the most underrated games on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and it's a game that's very similar to Dark Souls. It's got very hard combat, but it's a very rewarding game. If you're a fan of RPGs, Dragon's Dogma is going to be right up your alley, and most likely when the PC version launches in January, it is going to be the definitive experience of Dragon's Dogma. Keep in mind that this is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, so it contains the original Dragon's Dogma, and you get the DLC as well. So that's great, and PC gamers are finally going to get their hands on one of the most underrated games of the last generation. Number 9 is a Kickstarter game that's caused a lot of controversy. It's Mighty No. 9, being developed by Concept. Mighty No. 9 is a game being produced by Keiji Inafune, who is famous for his work on the Mega Man series, and Mighty No. 9 has a stark resemblance to the Mega Man series. It was looked at as a recreation of the series, a rebirth of this series, because Capcom wasn't doing anything with it. Keiji Inafune took to Kickstarter and raised over $4 million to help with the development of Mighty No. 9. Unfortunately, not everything's been great with the development of Mighty No. 9. There's been a ton of delays, and many are wondering if the game's gonna pan out and be a successful recreation of the Mega Man games. Hopefully it is, because gamers have been starved for a new game that's similar to Mega Man, and Mighty No. 9 does have a lot of potential in becoming a big game series going forward, but we'll have to see when the game launches on February 9th. Number 8, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Garden Warfare 2 is being developed by PopCap Games and being published by EA, and the original Garden Warfare title was one of the surprise hits of 2014. Garden Warfare 2 looks to be more of the same as its predecessor, but the game is going to include the addition of 6 new plant and zombie classes, a zombie version of Garden Ops titled Graveyard Ops, and a new mode called Herbal Assault Mode, which supports up to 24 players. And quite possibly the best thing about Garden Warfare 2 is the fact that, unlike the first game, the game will not require an internet connection to play, and every mode in the game can be played solo, as well as split-screen multiplayer and private servers will also be supported at launch, and free additional content is expected to be released regularly upon the game's release. Garden Warfare 2 releases on February 23rd, 2016. Number 7, The Witness. The Witness is being developed by Jonathan Blow and his development team, and the game is a 3D puzzle game. In The Witness, the player has to explore an open-world island filled with a number of natural and man-made structures. The player progresses through the world by solving puzzles which are based on interactions with mazes presented on panels around the island. Each of the puzzles in every section are based on a similar theme, with early puzzles in the sections designed to help the player identify the theme and understand how to solve the later puzzles. And outside of completing the puzzles, throughout the island there are also stations with audio recordings that give some background to the world and the story of the game. Hopefully The Witness can be as big of a success as Jonathan Blow's earlier title, the classic in 2008, Braid. We'll find out soon enough, as The Witness is scheduled to release on January 26th, 2016. Number 6 is Street Fighter V, being developed by Dimps and Capcom, and it's the latest entry to a beloved fighting game series, but Street Fighter has never really had a big place in the PC gaming scene. This time around, Street Fighter V is releasing on the PC and the PlayStation 4, and it's actually going to feature crossplay between the two platforms. A lot of the times the Street Fighter games don't have a lot of players on the PC servers, so for PC players, the fact that we're getting crossplay is going to be a great addition. Now, outside of that, you can expect some gorgeous visuals considering Street Fighter V is running on the Unreal Engine 4. The game's going to have 16 characters at launch, 4 of whom are completely new to the Street Fighter series, and following the game's launch, several characters will be developed and added to the game via regular updates. These characters, alongside other post-launch content, will be able to be purchased via either 2 of the in-game currency systems, one of which is in-game money and the other which is real-world currency. Not a long wait left for Street Fighter V now, as the game is scheduled to release on February 16th, 2016 in North America. Number 5, Far Cry Primal, being developed by Ubisoft Montreal. While Far Cry Primal isn't a new entry in the mainline Far Cry series, it's its own standalone entry, the game does have a lot of promise. Far Cry Primal is set in the Stone Age and revolves around the story of Takar, who starts off as an unarmed hunter and rises to become the leader of his own tribe. In the game setting, the humans have just discovered fire and have began to use stones to create tools for their daily lives. Survival is a daily challenge as tribes come into conflict with one another and nature. In the game's fictional land of Oros, which is open world and filled with wildlife such as mammoths, direwolves, bears, woolly woolly rhinoceros, and saber-toothed cats. The game obviously doesn't have the traditional gunplay that's featured in the Far Cry games, and you have to use melee weapons like spears, clubs, axes, and short-range weapons like bows. Far Cry Primal has a lot of potential. Unfortunately, PC gamers are gonna have to wait a bit as the game comes out in March of 2016, while it releases in February on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Number 4 is the latest in the stealth action series of Hitman. It's called Hitman. Being developed by IO Interactive, Hitman is a reboot to the series and looks to take Hitman back to its glory days. Once again in Hitman, you're gonna play as Agent 47, a well-trained assassin as he progresses through different parts of the world to assassinate his targets. The best thing about the new Hitman title is that the level design of the game is gonna feature a similar structure to that of Hitman Blood Money, as opposed to the somewhat linear structure of Hitman Absolution. Every level in the new Hitman title is a small sandbox which can be explored by the players. Levels are much larger and are expected to be 6 to 7 times the biggest levels in Absolution. Each area accommodates about 300 NPCs, with each having different routines and will react differently with the player's actions. The checkpoint system from Hitman Absolution has also been dropped, and players can save their game anytime they want during a mission. And another great thing is that Contracts mode will also return, and players can create scenarios and assassination targets, and these scenarios and targets can be shared with other players. The new Hitman title releases on March 11th, 2016. Number 3 is one of the most anticipated games and has been for a very long time, and that's Ubisoft's Tom Clancy The Division. Tom Clancy The Division was announced over 3 years ago, and the game's release is finally imminent. Tom Clancy The Division originally wasn't even supposed to be released on PC, but then a lot of PC gamers created petitions and argued for the fact of The Division's release on PC, and eventually Ubisoft caved and announced the PC release to coincide with console release as well. The Division takes place in a mid-crisis New York, and the player's mission is to restore order by investigating the source of a virus. In a game, a pandemic spreads that causes the United States government to collapse in 5 days. Basic services failed one by one, and without access to food or water, the country quickly descends into chaos. In the end, you, the player, are put into a team of people called the Division, and throughout the game there's going to be a lot of twists and turns and conspiracies as well. The Division has a heavy emphasis on multiplayer gameplay and survival, so you want to team up with friends and other players to help you throughout the game. The game is an open-world third-person shooter with a lot of RPG elements as well. At this point, a lot of people have lost hope for The Division since it was announced back in 3 years and it's been delayed several times now, but hopefully when The Division releases on March 8th, 2016, it can still salvage up something pretty great. But we will have to see when the game releases in March. Number 2 is Deus Ex Mankind Divided, being developed by Eidos Montreal and published by Square Enix. The latest entry in the Deus Ex series, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, is set 2 years after Deus Ex Human Revolution. You'll once again play as Adam Jensen with new technology and new body augmentations. The game is once again played from the first-person perspective with the third-person cover system. In Mankind Divided, people have become more and more against augmentations than ever before. Adam Jensen must deal with terrorist groups that demand equality for those that are augmented, as well as other shady occurrences in the game. If you're going to play Deus Ex Mankind Divided, you definitely want to give Deus Ex Human Revolution a playthrough. The story is very much linked together, and while you can probably jump into Mankind Divided without any knowledge of Human Revolution, in story-driven games like the Deus Ex series, it's definitely good to know your lore. Regardless, Deus Ex Mankind Divided looks like an awesome cyberpunk action RPG, and you'll be able to get your hands on it February 23rd, 2016. And finally, number 1 is XCOM 2, being developed by Firaxis Games. XCOM 2 is a sequel to 2012's reboot of the XCOM series, XCOM Enemy Unknown. XCOM 2 takes place 20 years after the aforementioned Enemy Unknown, and it's following a story where the XCOM lost the war in Enemy Unknown, and the public opinion of aliens have improved through the use of propaganda. In XCOM 2, you can expect the same turn-based strategy gameplay that you saw in XCOM Enemy Unknown, and after you beat them, you can loot the corpses of enemies to obtain weapons, upgrade parts, and various artifacts. Something very different in XCOM 2 is that it features faster combat than Enemy Unknown. A lot of the missions in XCOM 2 are actually hit and run, where players must rush in facilities to complete their objective quickly, and then return to the extraction point immediately. The mission structure of the game will also be very different, as XCOM 2 features secondary objectives as well. Also, expect a robust multiplayer component in XCOM 2. And unlike XCOM Enemy Unknown, which was released on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, XCOM 2 will be a PC exclusive. So expect Firaxis Games to optimize the PC much more, even though they did do a very good job with Enemy Unknown regardless. You'll be able to get your hands on XCOM 2 when it releases on February 5th, 2016. So that is going to end this video. What do you think of our list for the top 10 upcoming PC games of winter 2016? Do you agree with our list? Do you disagree? Do you think a game is ranked too low, a game is ranked too high? Did we completely miss a game? Let us know in the comment section down below, and also let us know your requests for future videos. Have a great day, thank you for watching, and goodbye.